BNB, what could you, I mean, you are talking on your this Twitter space, you're talking about DeFi Digest, and I know kind of what DeFi means, but if there's someone in here, how would you define and explain DeFi to someone who's never used crypto before, maybe?
Yeah, sure. So let's start with, what it's actually, two words, right? Decentralized finance. So let's
Yes.
start there. And finance, as we know, if we break it down, right, it's essentially few services, right? I mean, there are going to be obviously more nuances, but for simplicity's sake, there's, there's just savings, right? Your bank where you deposit and earn potentially an interest rate on it. There's the lending and borrowing, right? So whether you're looking to borrow for a home, right, or to buy a home or to buy a car. There's someone on the other side who's kind of providing that lending, or whether it's, if we go a level up, right, whether it's corporates, whether it's the bonds that people invest in, and then there's obviously the equities, right, kind of the shares in companies, and then of course there's the derivative products, right, futures product that, for example, let's say in someone who's in the oil business, they might buy an oil future to hedge their risk in case oil prices move too much. And there's the options, etc. So that's finance, right? In what we call TradFi, traditional finance. These are all the financial services that an individual person or a business might need. Now, when we add the word decentralized to it, what we're saying is instead of having a traditional middleman, whether it's your bank, local branch, or whether it's an investment bank like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, or whether it's some sort of platform for for peer-to-peer lending, it's like remove all that and then creating a space where anyone on both sides can can service each other. So, for example, you might be borrowing funds from someone that you have no idea who they are, but that's fine because the code or the smart contract is written in a way that it guarantees that no one can cheat. Although, of course, there are always the hacks, right? The exploits, the bugs. So there's always risk there. But I think as the industry matures and with each passing exploit and hack, the industry gets stronger. And I think that's one of the biggest strength of DeFi is that because everything's open source and on the blockchain, there's the innovation curve is a lot faster, right? So when anything goes wrong, everyone knows about it, and everyone now can be at one level up, right? Because it doesn't really need someone else to go through the same thing. Whereas if something bad were to happen in traditional finance, typically they cover it up, so most people wouldn't even know. So
Yes.
and then so I think that's a big part is transparency, right? Which is that anyone can see what's happening. So even if something goes wrong, it's there for everyone to see, and people can learn from that very quickly.
Yeah, I agree. So what do you think, as kind of an expert of DeFi now that you're hosting your Twitter space about it also, what is the general public's perception of it? Like, do they know what it is? Do you get lots of questions about it, or?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think there's always this this bifurcation, right, of users who are very what we're calling degens, right, and then a lot of the newer people who are might be, Bitcoin might be the only thing they ever heard of, right? So I
Yeah.
think with us, right, I think with any blockchain at this point within the crypto space, this theme of let's go for the next billion users, right? So that's been a catchphrase that the industry has been going after, and I think if that's going to be your goal, you have to consider the fact that most people, probably like 90% plus, would be people who are currently not in this space yet, which would mean there are newcomers who do not know much about crypto, right? Which is probably why we are doing more educational content like the Twitter space that we're hosting, which is to help people to understand. Which is why also when we're looking at products that we're rolling out and products that I'm working with, I'm always asking them, look, I'm gonna pretend that I have no idea what this is, and I'm gonna try their product, and I point out all the areas where I would get confused if I were someone new, right? So I think there is this issue where the people who are building these products, sometimes they go off of what they know, so they assume people know what certain things are, whereas actually that's not the case. And sometimes even I get confused on some of the products I tried. I'm like, look, if I can't figure this out, like the retail users aren't going to figure it out either. So like you got to fix this
Yeah.
this product, right? So I think that's something that's changing for the better, because what has happened historically has been that it's been mostly engineers who have kind of who joined this space first. And so teams are very much lacking in product and UI UX designers. We're starting to see a shift in that, as in teams are trying to understand that, okay, being user-friendly is really important, and getting the right product and the marketing and the UI teams ready are really important. But I think it hasn't gotten to a point where it's industry standard, if that makes sense, right? So they are the projects who are like, oh, we understand, we see the light, but then there are still the projects who, we talk to them and they're like, why do we need to do that? Like, it should be obvious. And so it's a mix. And I think over time, those who get it and those who can serve users better will win out. And I think that's going to be, we'll do our best to educate and help projects to become more user friendly, so that more and more people can get into DeFi.